Roca, and this channel is all about helping build winning cultures that last and helping you to improve your personal leadership. Before we get to it, I want to tell you guys, I want to do a book giveaway. So this is my book I wrote a few years ago called Live the Life You Have Always Imagined. This book is really all about helping you to build or to bridge the gap between your reality and the life you've always wanted to live. So there are several values that you need to live in order to start living the life you've always imagined. So I will be giving this book away, and I will tell you all about it, how we're going to do that at the end of this video. John Quincy Adams once said, if your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, to become more, then you are a leader. This quote takes me back to when I was in 6th grade. We had a brand new teacher that came to our school that year. Her name was Mrs. Chapman. Mrs. Chapman was incredible. We loved her. Our class nickname was Chapman's Champs, and we loved her. She was an incredible teacher. She inspired me to dream more. She inspired me to learn more, to do more, and definitely to become more. And I want to tell you a little bit about that story on how she did that. So after first recess, we would usually come together and she would pull out a book, one of her favorites, and she would read a book to us. One of the books that she picked was S.E. Hinton's The Outsiders. I know many of you have seen it, read it. If you haven't read it, you need to read it. This is an American classic. It is a game changer. Also, it's a great movie. Tom Cruise, Patrick Swayze, you name it. A lot of guys got their start. The Karate Kid, Ralph Macchio, whatever his name is. Lots of guys got their start from The Outsiders. As soon as she read to us, our class was divided. Half the class became socialists, half the class became greasers. And you guessed it, I was on the greaser side. It's the only time in my life where I have been called a greaser. That's what happened to our class. We became divided. In every recess, every lunch period, we would go out and literally fist fight. And then come back to class like nothing had ever happened. It was the strangest thing I've ever experienced. But regardless of that, it is a great book, and I highly recommend that you pick this up if you haven't. I've had all of my kids read The Outsiders when they turn about 12 years old, 13 years old. Like right before they go into junior high, I have them read The Outsiders, like that summer before school starts. And this is one of my kids' favorite books. So hopefully your kids and you will also like it. So I want to tell you about Mrs. Chapman now and what she did. I loved listening to her read The Outsiders. When she read, it was like I had a movie going on in my head. I could see the vivid colors. I could see what the drive-in looked like at the movies. I could see Ponyboy's tough blonde hair. I just got to see this visual. I had this visual imagery of what the movie would have looked like if I was the director, if I was in control of making that into a movie. It was incredible. It was awesome. I think that's the first time I realized that there is a great deal of power in reading. And this really turned me on to reading. Now, I did have a problem. I had moved to the United States 2 years prior from Chile, and I had a hard time reading in Spanish. Growing up, my teachers would just say that I was lazy. Eres flojo. So I just grew up thinking I'm lazy. I'm lazy. I don't read because I'm lazy. And so I had a really hard time not only reading in Spanish, but then the problem doubled on itself because now I couldn't read in English either. And I remember taking a test, a reading test with Mrs. Chapman, and it was reading and comprehension. And my comprehension on the reading test was so far on the negative that she didn't even have room to chart it. Like she had a big chart, and she would, put a little dot on it, and she couldn't even chart it. It was so off the charts negative. Mrs. Chapman said that, I told Mrs. Chapman once that I wanted to learn how to read because I loved when she read The Outsiders to us. And she said, okay, well, The Outsiders is probably a little bit too advanced from where you are right now. So we're going to start small. we're going to start with comic books. This is where I became a fan of comic books. Spider-Man, Captain America, are you kidding? Those are my two favorites. And so I started reading those, and I couldn't read them. Something that basic, I could not read them. So I just looked at the pictures, and she said, I want you to just focus on the pictures. What are the pictures telling you about the story? I would guess. And she said, okay, well, that's what it's talking about. But with time, she helped me to read. By the time I was done with 6th grade, I could read comic books. My comprehension still was probably about 50% range, but at least I could start reading a little bit. It wasn't very good, but I was reading. By the time I got to 12th grade, I was reading at a 3rd grade level. Again, you graduate, or graduate. I guess now you graduate. Back then we just advanced. But I advanced from 6th grade to junior high or middle school, and there was no Mrs. Chapman at that school. There was no teacher who inspired me, who wanted me to be better, who wanted me to progress, who wanted me to learn how to read enough to care to actually take the time to teach me how to read. So I went all through school till my senior year of high school, reading pretty much at a 3rd grade level. For those of you who don't remember what that sounds like, it's kind of like cat. It's not good. That was probably one of the reasons why I didn't graduate high school. But let's get back to Mrs. Chapman. We talk about John Quincy Adams saying that if your actions inspire others to dream more. She inspired me to want to learn to read. She was an awesome example of inspiring someone to dream more. She told me once that if I could see it in my head, that I could achieve it, that I could make that happen. And I tried really hard to make that visualization happen in my mind, and that I was constantly visualizing me reading so that one day I could read. She inspired me to dream more. When every other teacher was calling me lazy in whatever language, she was inspiring me to dream more, to see the possibilities. She also inspired me to learn more, which was the number 2 thing that John Quincy Adams talked about. Einstein once said, when you stop learning, you start dying. And I truly believe this. We should be on a constant search for learning. And not just like going to school and learning things there, although that's important, but just learning in general and just taking the time to become a subject matter expert in something, whatever it is, picking up a hobby and mastering it and learning all about it. It could be auto mechanics, it could be cooking, photography, writing, speaking, I don't know, whatever it is for you. We should always be embarked in that journey of learning more. And she definitely inspired me to want to learn more. I was inspired to learn to read comic books. She inspired me to do that. It was an incredible thing that she inspired me to do that. She inspired me to learn more. So think about this. She's not only inspired me to dream more and to visualize and to see me doing that, but she's inspiring me to learn more. She would sit next to me, and when all the other kids are laughing at me because I can't read, she is taking the time. She would put her hand on my back and say, it's okay. We all have to start somewhere. And she taught me to read. She was an amazing example to me. Okay, the 3rd thing that John Quincy Adams talked about was inspiring others to do more. Now, the do more, sometimes comes right away. You visualize, you dream more, you learn more, and then all of a sudden you just do more. Like you're often doing more. It took a while for me to do more when it came to the reading aspect of it. It wasn't until I was in my 30s that I found out that I had a severe form of dyslexia with not only letters but with numbers. And once I was told that, I was no longer stupid, flojo, lazy. I was no longer any of those things. I was a kid, or I was a person, a grown man who had dyslexia. And that was preventing me from learning how to read. But once the doctor said, hey, Eric, congratulations, you have dyslexia, it was one of the greatest moments, besides marrying my wife and my kids being born. It's probably right up there with one of the greatest moments of my life, because I was no longer lazy. I was no longer flojo. I was no longer stupid like that English teacher said I was my senior year of high school. I was just a kid or a person who had dyslexia. But once I discovered that, once I learned that, I learned everything that there was to learn about dyslexia and how do I overcome it. I still have dyslexia today. It has not gone away. I will report, though, that I read about 25 to 30 books a year. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I was reading about 50 books a year. I love reading. I have a deep passion for reading. I try to pass on that passion to my kids because reading is a powerful, powerful tool. And it's not something that anyone should go without in their life. Mrs. Chapman inspired me to do more. It took a few years. But I did more. I am doing more now. I am reading books that are way above my level, right? I don't even know what reading level I'm in, but I'm in a good enough reading level that I can read 25 to 30 books a year and understand everything that I am reading. Sometimes I may have to read one page or a paragraph, 2 or 3 times, but I get it, right? I eventually get to the point where I understand what it's saying. The fourth thing that John Quincy Adams talked about was becoming more. And I think because I went through that journey starting in 6th grade, I truly do believe that I have become more than I would have had I not started that journey. Had Mrs. Chapman not inspired me to read, had she not inspired me to dream, to learn, to do more, I don't think I would have become more. I'm a kid who didn't graduate from high school, in large part because I believed what everybody said. You're stupid. That's pretty sad. But I graduated high school when I was 25 years old. I already had a kid. And I didn't let that stop me. I went on to college and I earned a master's degree. So I have become more. You can also become more. Remember what John Quincy Adams said. If your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and to become more, then you are a leader. So Mrs. Chapman, I don't know if you're out there or not, but guess what? You are a leader. You are such a great example to me of what a great leader looks like. And I hope that someday I can reach your level of leadership, of caring for others, to want to inspire them to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and become more. Okay, guys, that is all we have time for today. So thanks for joining us. I know Christmas is right around the corner next week. So please travel safe if you are out and about this weekend, getting to your destinations. And I hope you guys all have a Merry Christmas. Want a copy of the book? Make sure you give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share with me on the comments what your favorite book is because I would love to take a read. Guys, see you next week. Take care.